Thank you very much for those very kind words. Thank you very much for the honor this evening. I'd like to begin with a few preliminary thank yous to a few people who put tonight's virtual dinner together. Want to thank the dinner chairs, Dr. Israel Deutsch and Tuvia Hirsch, the journal chairs, Jeff Eisenberg and Danny Englander. Thank you to Mrs. Ferber, to Mrs. Weiss, to Mr. Storch for all the work that they put into the dinner this evening, and anybody else who was involved in getting everything together for the dinner. Yasher Koach to Mr. Karasik and to the other school leaders for their guidance and efforts on behalf of MHS. Want to also thank our families, the Schwalb and Silverstein patriarchs and matriarchs, Tamar's parents, Bernie and Arlene Silverstein, and my parents, Dr. Eugene and Rita Schwalb, our siblings, our nieces, our nephews, our children and grandchildren, near and far, who all wanted so badly to be here live, but instead are despondently participating virtually. While I have the spotlight, I'd like to give a bracha to my wife Tamar, that she should continue to have the strength and wisdom to guide our family the way she always does. She is truly a role model for our family and for our community. I want to thank our friends and members of our shul in West Hempstead for their friendship and support. We should merit to celebrate many simchas together in the future. And finally, to all the parents and children and friends of Manhattan High School who are also participating in this year's dinner virtually, my hakaras hatov for your participation in the dinner and your support of our very special school. Of course, mazel tov to our seniors who have had a very challenging end of the school year, a very unique experience. But we grow from challenges, and we know and expect that your unique final few months of school has brought out in all of you special strengths which you may not have been aware of that exist in each of you. I'd like to place my remarks this evening in the context of a story involving my own high school experience. I grew up in Jericho, Long Island. I went to a great school, the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, affectionately known as Hank. When I attended the school, the Limudei HaKodesh principal was a man by the name of Rabbi Moshe Gottesman, of blessed memory, who had a profound influence on my life and thousands of his students. If you attended Hank around the time that I did, when Rabbi Gottesman was the principal, the Limudei HaKodesh principal, Rabbi Gottesman had a very unique practice. His unique practice was that when he would walk the halls of the school, if he would find something on the floor that belonged to somebody else, he would pick the item up, bring it to the office, get on the loudspeaker, and make an announcement. It would go, Hashavat Aveda, Hashavat Aveda. He has a lost article, and then he would announce somebody is missing a textbook, somebody is missing a bag, somebody is missing a ball. Come to the office and pick up your lost article. Now, if you walk the halls of lots of schools, you will find lots of lost articles. In fact, one of my children, not our 11th grader, Nava, lost her history book, and the cost is, if you lose these books, something in the order of $75. That's a different story. So if you were to announce that you go walk halls of schools and you start picking up lost articles and you make announcements about these lost articles, you end up with quite a few interruptions during the school day. He did not wait for recess to make these announcements. He would make it in the middle of all the classes. And it was somewhat comical, these Hashavat Aveda announcements. I always wondered, why did he make the announcements? And until recently, the idea that I had thought of was that it is not uncommon that the first Gemara that children learn when they attend yeshiva is Maseches Vav Metzia, the second parak, Elu Metzias. We learn about the laws of returning lost articles. So I thought that maybe the reason why Rabbi Gottesman was making these announcements is because he wanted to make sure that the students recognized that learning Torah is not just philosophy. It's not philosophy. It's living life. And so it's not enough to learn about the laws of Eila Metzias, but you actually have to live the laws of Eila Metzias. So he would make announcements to everybody knew Eila Metzias. Everybody had learned Eila Metzias. So he would make these announcements to remind us that we have to live Torah, not just think about Torah. That's what I used to think. Until the last day of school this year at MHS. On this last day of school, my daughter approached me to ask me for some help with an assignment. Apparently, Mrs. Yankelowitz told her that if she is having a problem understanding something, Nava should ask her father. After all, he is a rabbi, and he can certainly understand one of Mrs. Yankelowitz's Nosei B'Tanach handouts. The piece that Nava asked me to help her with discusses the topic of Hashavas Aveda. You know, the last day of school in a lot of schools, there's not that much learning going on. But over here, there was real learning going on. And here is the Nosei B'Tanach piece. I kept it, okay? This is from Mrs. Yankelowitz. It's a beautiful piece, which provided me with new insight into Rabbi Gottesman's Hashavas Aveda announcements. In Parshat Teitzei, when the Torah delineates the laws of lost articles, there are at least two peculiar words or phrases used by the Torah. The first is the repetition of the word achicha. The Torah begins, lo sereh shor achicha, that you shouldn't see the ox of your achicha and hide yourself from it. V'im lo karov achicha elecha. Ad derosh achicha osa. Don't wait for your friend to ask for it back. V'chein ta'aseh l'chol avedas achicha. Over and over again, in a few psukim, the Torah repeats achicha, achicha, achicha. That's the first unique phrase. The second issue is the way the Torah tells us that you shouldn't hide your face from seeing a lost article. The Torah does not say, al tis'alim, do not divert yourself from picking up the lost item of your friend. Rather, the Torah says, lo suchal lihisalim. You are not able to hide your face from the lost article. And the question is, says this Dvar Torah, why does it say lo suchal lihisalim? You can't hide your face. Why doesn't it just say al tisalim? Don't hide your face. You have to pick it up and return it to your achicha. And the answer to these two questions is one and the same. The Torah here is trying to reveal to us the nature of an ach, of a brother or a sister. Being an ach in Lashon HaKodesh is not simply a biological relationship. Ach, being a brother, is milashon achva, brotherhood, and achdus, unity. It reflects a feeling of connection with another, that we feel a responsibility for that other person to the extent that we are willing to be moser nefesh, to give of ourselves, even to risk our own lives for the other person. We are not just commanded with respect to Hashavas Aveda that we must pay attention to another person's property. The Torah says, lo suchal lihisalim. We should feel such a connection with other Jews. The other person is so important to me that it's not possible. Lo suchal, I cannot hide my face from the other person's object. I cannot ignore their property. And alachas kama v'kama, I should feel a responsibility for their spiritual well-being. That's b'kitzer what Mrs. Yankelowitz taught her 11th grade class on the last day of school, and it provided me with new insight into the practice of my principal, Rabbi Gottesman, many decades ago in making his many Hashavas Aveda announcements. He wanted all of us to feel for one another that sense of achius, of brotherhood, of achva, of achdus, of unity. It is our schus to be honored this year, and it is a privilege for our daughters to attend MHS. Yes, it is a great school academically. I don't think there was any school that was up and running the way MHS was when the health crisis hit. We are all so thankful for the excellent education. But to me, more important than the education is the Mesiras Nefesh of the entire staff, both Limudei Kodesh and Limudei Chol, to the girls, led by our two spectacular role models and leaders, Mrs. Yanofsky and Mrs. Friedman-Stefanski. The Hanhala and teachers give everything of themselves to the girls. They are with them when they are in the school and care for them from the bottom of their hearts when they leave. And they teach them what it means to be an ach for another Jew. It means achva, it means achdus, it means unity, it means achrayus, feeling a sense of responsibility for another person. Lo suchal lehisalim. It is not possible to look the other way when someone else needs help. May we all have only good health. With God's help, the school should be returned to a little more normal situation next year. And may we all only have nachas from every single one of the students of this fantastic institution. On behalf of Tamar and myself, we want to thank you for this very special honor.